My neighbor blasted music every morning at 6 a.m. I knocked and asked him to turn it down. He said, "I work nights. Your sleep isn't my problem." That week, I recorded everything. The day I sent the noise logs to his building manager, his girlfriend came screaming into the hall. I live in a small apartment building in Chicago. It's not fancy, but it's clean, and most of the neighbors keep to themselves. I work nights at a hospital nearby, 12-hour shifts, sometimes longer. When I get home around 6 a.m., all I want is to eat something small, take a shower, and sleep. That's it. I'm not asking for much. A few weeks ago, this guy moved into the unit across the hall. I didn't meet him at first, just saw a few boxes stacked outside his door. The first couple days were fine. Then the music started. At first I thought someone was just celebrating something. The music came on at exactly 6 a.m., like an alarm, and it was loud. Not just, I can hear it through the walls loud. I'm talking shaking picture frames loud. Bass that vibrated the floors. Screeching lyrics. The kind of music that makes your brain hurt before you're even fully awake. I figured maybe it was just a one-time thing. I didn't want to be that neighbor, so I let it go. Next morning, same thing. Then again. Same time, every day. So I finally knocked on his door. I was exhausted, still in my scrubs, bag under my eyes the size of a fist. He opened the door like he had no idea why I was there. I said, as calmly as I could, "Hey, sorry to bother you, but your music wakes me up every morning. I work nights and I get home right around that time, so it's really messing up my sleep. Could you maybe turn it down a bit in the mornings?" He didn't even blink, just leaned against the frame, looked me up and down and said, "I work nights too. Your sleep isn't my problem." Then he smiled and shut the door in my face. That was the moment I knew he didn't care. This wasn't an accident. It was intentional. I tried everything after that. I emailed the building manager. I knocked again, no answer. I even bought earplugs, noise-canceling headphones, white noise machines. Nothing worked. The bass was too strong. It went straight through everything. And I was getting maybe 3 hours of sleep a night, if that. I started to feel it. At work, I was slower. My temper was shorter. I got reprimanded for being distracted. One of my coworkers even asked if I was okay. I wasn't. I was running on fumes. Then I decided to stop, hoping he'd stop. I started recording. Every morning at 5:55 a.m., I'd set my phone to record. I'd capture the silence just before 6, and then, boom, the music would hit. Every day, same time. I kept a log in my notes. Date, time, track, if I could figure it out, volume levels from my phone's meter. I did this for 8 straight days. Then I emailed the building manager again. This time I attached everything. Audio files. A spreadsheet. I made it easy. I didn't rant. Just facts. I said, attached are 8 mornings of music starting before 6 a.m. The volume levels are consistently above acceptable limits. Please let me know how this will be addressed. 2 hours later, the building manager emailed back. "Thank you. We will take appropriate action." I thought that would be it. I really did. But that afternoon, around 2 p.m., I heard shouting in the hallway. I muted my TV and got up. I looked through the peephole and saw her, his girlfriend, the one I'd seen in passing, maybe once or twice. Always quiet. She was screaming. Not angry, furious. Red in the face, pointing at him, yelling loud enough that people upstairs started opening their doors. "You said no one complained. You said it was fine," she shouted. He tried to calm her down, but she wasn't having it. She was pushing him, pointing toward my door. "You lied to me. You said she was crazy. You said..." She broke down, crying right there in the hall. Then the building manager showed up with a folder in hand. He looked not surprised, honestly. Like he'd been waiting for this moment. He told them to take it inside, but she refused. She stood her ground, wiping her face, and yelled, "You're getting us evicted because you couldn't turn down your stupid music for 5 minutes." I didn't say anything. Just stood behind my door, heart pounding. Then she looked right at my door and said, "I hope she tells them everything. I hope she shows them every recording. You're selfish, and now we're both paying for it. And then she walked out, literally walked down the stairs barefoot, sobbing. I thought that was it. But then a few days later, there was a notice under every door in the hallway. Tenant hearing. Repeated noise violations. Apartment 4B. Meeting Thursday, 7 p.m. No music came from his unit the next morning. Or the next. I still couldn't sleep though. I kept waking up, waiting for the bass. But there was nothing. Just silence. And that silence? It felt like the beginning of something bigger. The days leading up to the tenant hearing were quiet, too quiet. No music, no shouting, not even the usual door slams. It felt like walking through a stage set before the show starts. I kept expecting something to explode. Then, 2 nights before the hearing, I got home from work around 6:15 a.m. I took off my shoes in the dark, like always, and was halfway through brushing my teeth when I noticed the smell. Smoke. Faint, like burnt paper or plastic. I froze. It wasn't strong, but it was there, floating in from the hallway through the gap under my door. I opened it slowly and looked out. The hallway lights were on. Everything looked normal. I walked a few steps toward the stairwell, sniffing the air. That's when I saw it. A thin line of black residue, ash or soot, trailing from under my neighbor's door. I knocked hard. No answer. I knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. I ran back to my unit, grabbed my phone, and called 911. Possible small fire or electrical issue, I told them. 4th floor, apartment 4B. The fire department came fast, sirens, flashing lights, the whole thing. They broke his door down. No flames. Just smoke. A pan left on the stove, heating for what looked like hours, dry and blackened. Nobody home. I stood there in my hallway in scrubs and a hoodie, arms crossed, heart pounding. The building manager showed up, red in the face. Cops followed the firefighters inside. One came back out and told us what we already suspected. Unattended stove. Lucky it didn't go further. I asked if they'd found the guy. No one inside. Door was locked from the outside. No signs of forced entry before we got here. They put out the alert. No one saw him leave. His girlfriend hadn't come back either. Her name wasn't on the lease. The next morning, another notice went out. Tenant of Unit 4B has been found in violation of safety protocols. Hearing still scheduled. Attendance mandatory. But he never showed. Instead, the building manager said during the hearing, "We are moving to evict. Tenants have a right to safety and quiet enjoyment of their homes. This unit has violated both." I gave my statement last. I wasn't nervous. I was just done. I laid out everything. The sleep deprivation. The ignored complaints. The recordings. The smoke incident. People nodded. Someone even clapped quietly. Afterward, I went back to my place. Still no music. Still no sign of him. Then 3 days later, I got a knock on my door at 3 a.m. I looked through the peephole. It was her. His girlfriend. Same slippers, but she looked worn out. Like she hadn't slept in days. She was holding a paper grocery bag, kind of crumpled, like she'd been carrying it a while. I opened the door a few inches. "I'm not here to fight," she said, voice soft, eyes puffy. I didn't say anything. She held the bag out toward me. "I just want to give you this. You should know what he was doing." I took it and closed the door. Inside the bag were papers, printed emails, screenshots of message threads, notes, dozens of them, my name on some, and in the middle of the stack, a notebook with one line circled in red ink. "She thinks she's better than everyone because she saves lives." I sat down on the floor. My stomach turned. This wasn't just noise. He had been watching me, writing about me, tracking my schedule. I started to flip through more pages. There were dates, times I'd come and go, comments about what I wore, who came over. It was all there. This wasn't just a neighbor being inconsiderate. This was something else. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on my couch with the notebook in my lap, flipping through the pages again and again. It wasn't just weird, it was personal. He'd written down things no one should have noticed. What day I wore blue scrubs. What time I left for work on Wednesdays. The brand of coffee I liked. He even mentioned the name of a guy I dated for a few weeks last year, someone who'd only come over twice. There was no way he could have known all that unless he was watching me closely. For a long time. I took pictures of everything. Every page. Every note. Then I sent an email to the building manager. No subject, just, "You need to see this." He called me an hour later. His voice was low and serious. "Don't answer the door unless it's me or the police," he said. "We're contacting legal. This is going beyond noise complaints." The next day, the police came by and picked up the notebook and papers. They asked if I wanted to file a restraining order. I said yes, immediately. They also told me something else. The tenant, my neighbor, hadn't officially moved in under his own name. The lease was signed by someone else. A friend, apparently. A guy from out of state. The building was investigating whether he'd been subletting illegally, which meant, technically, he didn't even belong there. A few hours later, I got another knock on the door. This time it was the cops again. They asked if I had security cameras inside the apartment. "No," I said, confused. "Why?" "We're just checking. There was a break-in 2 floors down last night. Someone came in through the fire escape." They didn't say it, but I could tell they were worried it was him. After they left, I sat in my kitchen trying to keep my hands from shaking. I hadn't eaten all day. The air felt heavy, like something bad was crawling just out of sight. That night, I installed a lock bar on my front door and dragged a chair under the handle. Around 2:30 a.m., I heard movement in the hallway again. Slow footsteps. Then nothing. Then a soft knock. Not at my door, at someone else's. Then another. And then silence. I sat there in the dark, holding my phone, listening for any sound. But it never came back. The next morning, someone slid an envelope under my door. No name. No return address. Inside was one sheet of paper. All it said was, "You think this is over?" I brought the envelope straight to the building manager. He looked at it for a long time without saying anything, then handed it to the officer assigned to the case. I asked if the cameras caught who slid it under my door. He sighed. "They're reviewing footage now," he said. "But the hallway camera on your floor has been tampered with." Tampered. That word hit me hard. I asked what that meant. Someone covered the lens with tape. Carefully. We only noticed because there was a gap in the footage between 2 and 3 a.m. Same time I'd heard the footsteps. They didn't have a suspect on paper. But we both knew who it was. I was told not to stay alone. My friend Claire from work offered to sleep over. She brought her dog. I didn't tell her everything, just enough. That someone had been messing with my door, watching me, leaving notes. She sat on my couch with a baseball bat in her lap the whole night. But the worst part? The silence. No knocks. No music. No sign of him. Which made me think he was watching. Waiting. Then, 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. When I checked it, my blood went cold. It was a man's voice. Low, casual. Like he was ordering a sandwich. "Tell them whatever you want. You can't prove what matters." Click. That was it. I saved the message, sent it to the cops. They traced the number to a burner. Of course. No name, no lead. Just another dead end. But I knew that voice. It was him. I couldn't take it anymore. I packed a bag and stayed at Claire's for a few nights. Still went to work, still tried to act normal. But every time my phone buzzed, I jumped. Every time someone walked too close behind me, I froze. Then, the building manager called again. "We did a full inspection of 4B, he said. Behind the HVAC vent, we found a second notebook. Another one. He didn't tell me everything over the phone. Just said, "You need to come in." It's disturbing. When I got there, the notebook was already with the police. But he let me read a copy of one page they'd scanned. It had my full name, my shift schedule, my car make and model, and below that in small letters, "She thinks this is about noise." She has no idea. After I read that page, I couldn't speak for a minute. The building manager just stood across the desk, arms crossed, eyes on the floor. He looked shaken, but I don't think he had any idea how deep this was cutting into me. This wasn't just someone being spiteful. It was targeted, personal, deliberate. I asked if the rest of the notebook was like that. He nodded slowly. It's not just you. There are other names in there. Other tenants. A couple in 2A, someone on the first floor. Notes about their routines, who they live with, when they leave for work. My skin crawled. What the hell was he doing? I asked. We don't know yet. But this is going far beyond a lease violation. The building installed new locks on all outside doors that week. Security cameras were upgraded, and everyone in the building got an email warning them not to engage with anyone matching his description. They even offered to pay for deadbolts to be installed inside each unit. But still, no one could find him. Not his girlfriend. Not his so-called friend who signed the lease. Not even the police. He was just gone. Like he'd vanished on purpose. Then someone posted a notice on the building's community bulletin board, an old cork one by the mailboxes. It wasn't signed, but it was handwritten in block letters. They think locking the doors will help. He was inside the whole time. The building manager took it down within minutes. But someone had already taken a picture and posted it in the tenant group chat. People were scared. Tenants started breaking their leases. 2 units emptied out that month alone. But I stayed. I told myself I wouldn't be forced out of my own life. Then, about a week after the note appeared, Claire and I came home from a grocery run. As I was unlocking my apartment, Claire noticed something on my door. It was subtle, barely there. A single fingerprint, right on the peephole. Fresh. Oily. We stood there in silence, staring at it. Claire whispered, "You didn't touch that, did you?" I shook my head. No. Not once. We took a photo. Sent it to the police. They dusted for prints the next morning. But whoever it was had wiped everything else clean. That same day, I got a package. No return address. Just my name written in all caps, black marker, across the front. Inside, a single item. A pair of my own scrubs. Ones I thought I'd lost weeks ago. Neatly folded. Smelling faintly like bleach. I sat on the floor with the scrubs in my lap, staring at them like they might move on their own. I knew they were mine. There was a tiny burn mark on the left leg. I dropped a tea light on them once while lighting candles in the bathroom. I'd assumed they got tossed in the laundry room by mistake, or that maybe I left them in my locker at work. But no, he had them, which meant he'd been inside. The police took the scrubs, said they'd test for DNA, but I could tell by the way they looked at me. Not much would come of it. There wasn't enough.
No câmeras, no witnesses, no prints.
Just fear. I stopped sleeping in my bedroom. I started locking the bedroom door from the inside and sleeping on the floor with a chair wedged under the knob. I'd wake up at the smallest sounds, the elevator humming, a neighbor's dog barking, even a refrigerator kicking on. Every noise had weight now. Every shadow had teeth. Claire begged me to move out. She even offered to help pay for the deposit somewhere new. But I couldn't bring myself to run. That's what it would have felt like, running. And deep down, I didn't think distance would change anything. He already knew everything about me. He'd been inside my home. He'd touched my things. He didn't need to be near me to make me feel unsafe. A few weeks later, the building installed motion-triggered hallway cameras, new ones, high resolution. The manager told me quietly, "They're set to alert me in real time. If he comes back, we'll know." But he didn't come back. Not in the way we expected. One morning, a woman from the 3rd floor, nice older lady named Mrs. Harris, found a note taped to her door.
No envelope.
Just a sticky note. It said, "You're next." Just like her. That was the final straw. The building put on 24-hour security. Patrols, cameras, even an off-duty cop hired by the HOA. But still, he was never caught. The investigation eventually slowed down. The restraining order was technically still active, but without a confirmed location, it didn't mean much. People stopped asking me if I was okay. The building quieted down. The tenant chat group dissolved. Life tried to move on. But I never did. I changed my locks twice. I switched shifts at the hospital, so I'd come home during the day. I stopped answering the door completely. And every time I walk past the hallway, where his unit used to be, empty now, sealed with new drywall, I feel it. Like he's still here. Like I'm still being watched. Like this was never about music. I still have the recordings. All of them. Every morning at 6 a.m., every bass drop, every second of noise I thought was just about being rude. I used to keep them as evidence. Now I think I keep them because I need to remember what it felt like before I knew. Before I realized he didn't just want to wake me up. He wanted me to feel like I was never really alone. And the truth is, I don't think I ever was.